So I think it's all important today we sit down and try and manifest some stuff that's going to go in the opposite direction. This is going to annoy the comments or certain comments. It's totally fine. But the end of SmackDown had me scared. And you see the thumbnail? You can see the picture on the screen right now. Because John Cena and Logan Paul did march to the ring, and they totally murked Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. They jumped in from behind. John Cena smacked Cody Rhodes in the head with the title belt, which is what he loves to do, and he's probably going to tie into their second match when Cody Rhodes wins that belt back. But then, after some talking and some very expert shutting down of the "We Want Truth" chants by John Cena, who became Jack Nicholson and went, "You can't handle the truth," which is very smart, all things considered. Like, it's really simple, but you have to have the right approach and the right cadence to get away with it, and he always does, John Cena. They beat up Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes again. John Cena stood there with his world championship. Logan Paul, with the weirdest look on his face, did it with Jey Uso's world title. Now, WWE is not going to do this. We've already passed that night's main event. We're doing it because it's a good visual. Again, what did I use in the thumbnail? What am I talking about straight away? But it did make me feel oogly boogly in my tum-tum, because I just can't handle it. And maybe one day it does happen. I'm not saying that Logan Paul isn't a talented pro wrestler, because he is. Once more, maybe he practices matches, maybe he doesn't. I just appreciate whatever I get through the screen at the time. There's no one way to crack an egg when it comes to sports entertainment. And as I always say when I talk about this, well, I'm repeating myself, got no problem with it, but he's just not one of my guys. You must have had this throughout your professional wrestling career. I always go back to the Hardy Boys. Jeff Hardy wasn't my guy. Matt Hardy was my guy. I can't tell you why. Slap your head. It's the cool thing when you do watch this madness. You gravitate towards some people, and some people you just can't figure out. And then usually what happens is, I'm talking about other videos I've already spoken about this on, something does click in your brain, and all of a sudden you like them. Darby Allin is my most recent one. Always thought Darby was super talented. I thought the way that he used his, well, I guess, smaller size was awesome. He made himself feel like a giant, but then I wouldn't necessarily say I was rooting from him from a fictional standpoint. But then I think he had that match with Sting, the Revolution match, Sting's retirement match, and maybe because it was so emotional, everything just, went from fuzzy to a beautiful shade of clear, which doesn't make any sense. This is why we need to sleep, ladies and gentlemen. But that's my point, right? I just don't want to see Logan Paul. Maybe it does tie into all the other stuff, which will come to be. I don't think it can be that, because it would be somewhat hypocritical coming from me, given that I am a YouTuber, influencer type dude, nowhere near Logan Paul's level. I am like this compared to him. But I have got into pro wrestling. I have a wrestling match today, which is why I'm talking quite fast, because my gosh, am I against the clock? So of course I don't begrudge him that, because I begrudge myself the same opportunities. That's just how I feel about it. But ultimately, when we put our kayfabe and our work caps back on, that's what WWE was trying to achieve. And I talked about it in my predictions that you can check out right now. This is not a match that I wouldn't say not excited about, but certainly wasn't excited about. It's kind of just there. I hope it doesn't main event. I would have happy if it didn't existed. I think there's other ways we could have done this. But if SmackDown's goal was to make me a little bit more interested, it totally achieved it. And I really like the Jey Uso storyline. Like Cody and Jimmy sat down with Jey. They're like, "Jey, you're taking on too much," which is a conversation we've all had. Because, of course, he got murked here. He'll definitely get murked at Money in the Bank, although I actually think Cody and Jey are definitely going to win now, hence this beatdown. But then he rolls into the Gunther match, exposed. And I think there is a small chance, it depends how you want to do going forward. Either Jey Uso retains in, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it means," and let's just say it is Seth Rollins that wins the Money in the Bank. He comes in and cashes it in instantly, so within 48 hours. Or maybe you do it to Gunther too, because the absolute best thing about this episode of SmackDown, another reason why I get so mad with all the, hang on, let me get this right, it's out ups and downs all the time, subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, subscribe to me, and go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Siren316. We're doing watch along. We've got another one going live today. But it is distraction, it is interference, it is confusion. If you are a child like me, you know that spells dick. And Seth Rollins' whole MO with Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman was to just wreck every single match on this show if somebody from the Money in the Bank briefcase contest was involved. It made them feel like badasses, especially because they turned up to SmackDown. They also had the face-off with the Bloodline to begin with, which also worked because Solo Sikoa is going to be in the Money in the Bank match. So it was so well thought out, it was so well structured, it was so well put together. It's just a shame that in all other matches, be it the Chelsea Green stuff, the Chad Gable stuff, there's something else I'm not thinking about. Well, it was Seth Rollins mostly, but that was fine. You had interference, you had distractions, and you had confusion. I just personally think it's out of control. But the good thing about doing it here is that it works so well. And by the time that, Seth Rollins cut the opening promo and Paul Heyman cut their last promo, by the time they were doing that, you're like, wait, who can stop these guys? And that's exactly what you want from your heel group. I also think we built anticipation for our Bloodline versus Seth Rollins' group needs a name. We'll call them the Seth People Are Awesome team. But we've built that down the line, maybe at pay-per-view, maybe whatever the flub you want to do it. And at the same time, we're teasing that Jacob for 2 is the diamond in the rough, the future of tomorrow, which is what Seth Rollins is all about. He's trying to cement that future. And he heard JC Mateo and Solo Sikoa saying that he's dumb. He doesn't know what he's talking about because, of course, it's how it all tied in. It's a very good episode of SmackDown in terms of interweaving things. In the opening match between Jimmy Uso and JC Mateo, JC lost with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, surprise roll-up, because, of course, Sara Zakara was trying to do the distractions. Jacob had 2 tried. Jimmy Uso got down, got out of the way. JC and Jacob, a lot of J's, came together, hit the roll-up 1, 2, 3. Now, it's kind of an overdone finish because WWE usually relies on it to go, well, JC Mateo didn't really lose, but Jimmy Uso needed a win, and you needed to carry on this dissension between those two. Again, we got that backstage skit later. I thought it was totally justified. There were so many good story beats throughout all of this. Like LA Knight versus Aleister Black. Like Aleister Black, after Seth Rollins had interfered, he looked at Seth Rollins, and it wasn't overly stated, or the commentators hinted at it. They had all that stuff back in the day with Malachi Black's eye and them being together and them hating each other, and he tried to stand up for LA Knight, who also got murked. If you're an LA Knight fan, you should be over the moon, because he got a big promo saying he's going to win Money in the Bank. Then he got beaten up bad. Usually when you do that, it means you could win. Like right now, even though I'm sticking with Seth Rollins, because that's what I said in my prediction, you don't often get someone that dominating that then wins the Money in the Bank, because maybe it's an old WWE trope these days. If somebody's going to win the briefcase, you can lose, and then get the briefcase, and you've almost reset your character, which is the case. But it's another reason I hope that Raw and SmackDown does merge together a little bit more. I'd love to see more between, I keep calling Malachi Black. I'd love to see more between Aleister Black and Seth Rollins. Even that one interaction, like, oh man, that's so exciting. And during that first segment, you definitely had the stare off between Bron Breakker and Jacob for 2, and everybody wants that match. Fair play to WWE for being so patient with all of this, because eventually we'll do it at WrestleMania, maybe even for a world title, maybe even could be in the main event if you do it right. People are going to lose their minds, and they're already losing their minds here. So just tremendous stuff. And it was the same with the women's Money in the Bank as well, because they did rely on a trope. You're the 3 good guys, you'll be on one team. You're the 3 bad guys, you'll be in the other team. But the match was so damn good, who gives a flub, man? Like, the potential of this division, or maybe it's being realized as I speak, is so damn high. I think the Money in the Bank for the women could steal the show easily. And also, we didn't just rely on the fact friends, enemies, enemies, friends. Because at the end, Naomi went, I don't want to tag you, Roxanne Perez. You've been beaten up. I've got a way more important match on Saturday night. I don't mind if you win the briefcase or not. That's all about me. She just flubbed off. That's a good bad guy. Roxanne Perez gets riptided 1, 2, 3. Now, again, you could argue Rhea Ripley won here. She's not going to win the Money in the Bank. And we also made sure we had a Tiffany Stratton promo, which Rhea Ripley interrupted. So we've also teased that match too. And from nowhere, WWE will go, yeah, it's draft time. So maybe we are going to send people around the place. So just really, really good. And again, before that, what did we do? We crossed more streams. Don't tell the Ghostbusters. We got announced that it is going to be the Queen and the King of the Ring at Night of Champions. Qualifying starts next week. Winner gets the match at SummerSlam. Jade is in it. Charlotte is in it. So now we've basically said that could be the final, and it should be. That would be awesome. And Tiffany Stratton interrupted them, and then she's talking to Rhea Ripley. So it's like all the Seth Rollins stuff. It's like a barrel of creativity you can jump into, and it does feel like all these championships matter. Apart from Zelina Vega's US title. Now that's unfair, because the street fight, what do we call it, a Bakersfield brawl, that Piper Niven and Zelina had was really fun. There was kendo sticks and chairs, and we'll get to the table. I've talked about this already in ups and downs, but we'll talk about it again. And of course it ends with Julia coming out and a bunch of nonsense, blah, 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 blah. But it's just, why is Chelsea Green's group still involved in this? Because they keep getting beaten. Like, it needs a promo. It just needs a little bit of a seed to justify it. I love that they are, because they're so funny and they're so talented. But I always say the same thing. It just feels like we talked about the amount of depth in the other storylines, and this stuff just happens. And even Julia going after that title is awesome. Before this, Julia got up to Zelina Vega, and Zelina Vega said, I have to be dead before you take it from me. I was like, you got to tone that down, Zelina Vega. If she beats you, she's going to win the championship. And Julia took that personally, because she helped Zelina Vega, only to then murk her in the middle of the ring. So she's completely flubbed up. But I enjoyed that, because it kind of made Julia a badass, essentially. She will do the right. She's Batman. She'll do the right thing. But then at the same time, if you cross her moral code, she'll boot you in the face. So it probably means that Julia's not going to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, although she could and cash in on Zelina Vega. Very risky, but you can absolutely do it. But I think she should probably win that title, and I think we should really jump in here and just create something like we have done on Raw with Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, because I think that has way more weight. But the match was fun, and I think that was ultimately the thread that ran through SmackDown, because we had Penta and Andrade taking on the Creeds. Of course, after that was done, Seth Rollins beat them up too, because they're in Money in the Bank. Really fun match. Chad Gable tried to rip off Penta's mask, because they'd all insulted each other beforehand, because he's also in Money in the Bank. Out comes for Kingo, which, if you're a hardcore nerd like me, must have had you staring off into the distance going, What a crazy few days. Like, AJ Francis and Casey Navarro turning up on NXT, who also used to be old WWE guys, or one of them did. The Drifter was there. Damn, Brian Alvarez. But what's his name? Elijah, Ezekiel, whatever calling him. He was there. And then you get to SmackDown and Vikingo is on the show. This Triple A show is going to be totally mad. But that obviously opens up the door. Mexican Destroyer 1, 2, 3, out comes Seth group. And the Creeds lost again. There's probably something we can do there. Because they are a weird outlier at the moment. Are they a Raw team? They are a Raw team. That's why it doesn't make sense. Because obviously we had all the SmackDown teams get together and be like, we have a problem with the Wyatts, after they essentially made a serial killer video. But I like the Wyatts, and I like how people respond to them. It always goes back to 2019, and WWE was the era here. But they made Seth Rollins sell for The Fiend and being scared, and because the story was so crap it didn't work. You still have to do that now. You can't have a group of would-be killers that people just shrug their shoulders at. You've ruined the gimmick, right? And I thought the way we did it here was really good. They were intimidated but not sort of totally scared. And Montez Ford is like, we all have to work together to kind of stop the Wyatts. And the fun part about that is it doesn't make Wyatts good guys or bad guys again. They kind of just are the Wyatts. I really hope we get into Nikki Cross versus Candice LeRae. I think both of them are underutilized, so we can take advantage of that. And we know the SmackDown tag team division has the depth the Raw one lacks. So if we can keep doing stuff like this and pro-women and coming up with cool stories, I think we're in a good place. But yes, I really did enjoy the show overall. Big fan of the opening, big fan, not really of the ending, but the Seth Rollins stuff and the Cody and John Cena stuff, to me, is holding fire until SummerSlam. But they have achieved their goal. I'm very excited about Money in the Bank. We're only getting 4 matches. I don't think anything else was annoyed. So we have Money in the Bank, the Becky match, and, of course, the tag team match. And that's why we're doing the tag team match. The world titles are going to get on the line. And I think that Jey Uso is going to lose his title on Monday night. I think you could get away with that. I think it has to be Seth Rollins, though. I've seen a lot of people going, they don't think Seth Rollins... Wait, they don't. I saw this. Seth Rollins doesn't need it. I don't care about needing and wanting. I'm talking about what does the story dictate to me right now. Listen, if you want to give it to Solo Sikoa, my new favorite pivot on the roster, during JC Mateo versus Jimmy Uso, that dude was flipping hilarious. Being like, oh man, you can come back to the group. Oh, you want to get your ass kicked because it wasn't in the middle of the match. Telling him to tap out. If you want to give it back to him, I don't care. I'm standing next to my boy Solo. I think he's done a great job. Even when he first took over the Roman thing, his whole thing, the nuance of the character, I was talking about this on social media earlier, was he doesn't actually want this role because he's terrified, hence why he brought in a madman that people told him should never be hired by WWE because he thought that would protect him, and now it's going to whip him in his ass. I would like LA Knight to win from a surprise point of view, and the worst phrase ever, a dude that I think deserves it. But everybody else, I can't see Penta, I can't see Andrade, I really can't see Andrade. I feel so bad saying that. But I think people will be confused, and Chad Gable to me feels like he can spin off into 1,000 different things because he's 2 characters right now. There's a picture doing the rounds because Chad Gable's tattoo isn't there when he performs as El Grande Americano. That's why I love wrestling so much. So many people act like they are the Bastion. No, you can't get me. You can't work me. But they don't know that tattoo cover-up cream exists. Never change, honestly. You're wonderful folk, and I appreciate you watching me. Enjoy Money in the Bank. Make sure you drop me your predictions below if you didn't do it the other day. We'll be back tomorrow, so if you can interact with this video as much as possible, you make my day. It helps the channel. Like it, share it, subscribe. Again, engage down there, notification bell. Click the video for those predictions. Otherwise, it's grillandmine.com/Simon. You can Simon get 10% off. It ships worldwide. I've got a new package coming right now. I've been away the last few days for ifs, buts, and maybes, and I wouldn't have been able to travel without their sachets and their pre-workout. It is the best, as is my Patreon. Patreon.com/Simon316. It's super cheap. It's like $5, which is even nothing really compared to, in terms of the what's it called? The currency converted to pounds. Do my watch-alongs, Q&As, a bunch of fun. You get to vote on those too. Otherwise, come say hello on social media, Simon J. Miller. Come and get a TikTok at Simon Miller. Not the other way around. Come get a cameo at Simon Miller, TikTok Simon J. Miller, pro wrestling tees for merchandise as well as Big Cartel. And that's it. Time to get a video edited and then go wrestle. I'm in a street fight today. It's been a 6-month feud, and here comes the end. And a title's on the line. I may have something to share with you soon. Take care, my friends. Goodbye.